I recently replayed through the entirety of the Warcraft 3 campaign, and I felt like doing this for a few reasons, one of which was it had been about 11 years since I last played through it, so I kind of wanted to just play through again and catch up on the lore and remember all the stories, and the other one was I wanted to see what people love so much about Warcraft 3, because we're in this era of World of Warcraft lore where it's all over the place, right? People hate it, people despise it. Some people are like, I think it's pretty good, right? It almost feels like even talking about it, like you're walking on eggshells at times. And it's like, why is that? And I wanted to kind of go back and experience this and be like, why do people love these characters and these stories? And I also want to mention that I'm not even a big video game story person. That's not to say that I don't like video game stories, and there's been plenty that I have liked. It's just I prefer other forms of media to consume a story, right? Like TV, movies, especially books, because I've been reading a bunch of books. I've been rereading through Game of Thrones, which I know people would be like, Crendor, why are you doing that? I'm on book 4 right now. And it's just, I just like the way they're written. I love the stories and everything and the characters in them. And so it's even made me want to write my own book. I've been learning about writing and storytelling. And so I kind of wanted to go into this with that type of analytical mindset of why do these characters from back in the day feel so much more lovable and the ones currently have so much backlash about them. And one of the first things I noticed that I thought was interesting was we are right away under a cosmic threat, right? Like the Burning Legion is invading and Azeroth might be destroyed. And I thought it was funny because I was like, well, we're kind of still dealing with that, right? Like we have these cosmic threats, the Void, all this stuff, and Azeroth is going to be destroyed. We need to save Azeroth. And I was like, well, what's the difference, right? Like, what's the difference between this cosmic threat and that cosmic threat? And the first thing that I put together was the Burning Legion wasn't interesting because it was threatening the world. The Burning Legion was interesting because it acted as a catalyst for dozens of stories for the characters. And so, for example, we have the story of Arthas, one of everybody's favorite villains in World of Warcraft history, essentially just World of Warcraft Darth Vader, right? But what does Arthas want? He wants to save his people. He wants to protect his kingdom. And so, he goes and he purges Stratholme, which, some people might agree with, some people might not agree with, right? But it's a difficult decision he has to make. And you might say, hey, you know what? It was difficult, but he made that decision. He makes the decision because of what the Burning Legion is doing. They're forcing him to do this. They're forcing him to take action. And so after he does this, then he starts chasing down Mal'Ganis. He's like, I need to get my revenge on this Dreadlord, right? And so vengeance starts driving him to continuously make bad decisions. And so he starts, doing his whole thing with the mercenaries where he hires them and then, it's like, they did this, get him. And then you start being like, all right, Arthas going a little crazy. And you watch as Arthas just like slowly descends into madness. In fact, you don't just watch, you actually play as Arthas fully descending into madness. And this is all set up because the Burning Legion started attacking Azeroth. And we even start getting some domino effect from this, right? Like we have Sylvanas who's out here defending her homeland from Arthas who's invading, and then she tries to fight him off, she can't do it, and she's just like, just give me a peaceful death, I deserve one. And he's just like, nah, screw you. And he just like turns her into a banshee. And now she wants revenge against Arthas and just freedom from the Lich King. And so you have like these dominoes falling and creating different little stories here. Or even a character like Kael'thas, where he's just trying to do what's best for his people after their homeland gets destroyed by Arthas and they join the Alliance, and the humans are like, look at these elves, let's throw them on the front lines so they die. And they're just like, dude, what the hell? And then Illidan and Lady Vaz show up and they're just like, hey, come with us. Those people suck. And he's like, all right. And then you just watch him get corrupted and, slowly go insane. But it's like, you at least have this start for him where he's trying to do something good. He's trying to be the best leader he can be, but he just goes down the wrong path. And I think the big thing these observations showed me was that Warcraft 3 villains have understandable motivations. And it reminds me of that quote that's like the path to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Like the best villains don't just wake up one day and go, oh man, you know what? I'm gonna be evil today, right? Like this doesn't just happen. Like they've gotten to this point. They've convinced themselves what they're doing is right or necessary. And you don't have to actually agree with what they're doing, but it's one thing to agree with it and it's one thing to understand it, right? When you look at Arthas, you go, wow, what he's doing right now is insane as the Lich King, but you can go back and watch his path on how he's gotten here and you go like, yeah, you know what? It sucks. Like, he just went down the wrong path. How many times do you hear that even in real life? Like, yeah, he was a good kid, but he just went down the wrong path, right? And I think that sense of realism is what makes it so enticing. Meanwhile, when I look at modern WoW writing, it almost feels like the modern villains always have these really big plans, and they always say that you wouldn't understand. This plan is so great and so big that you wouldn't understand it. And it's like, well, how about you just tell me it and then I'll see if I understand it. Right? And it's like this big mystery of this villain who feels like they're like 10 steps ahead of you, and they're like, you're just not gonna understand it, man. And it's like, just tell me and then we'll see if I understand it, right? And it's like so much different than more of a grounded experience that you get in these old Warcraft games, which is just like, here's a guy that just went down the wrong path and now he got either corrupted or something happened and they're doing bad things, right? Like, it's night and day. And that leads me to my next point, which is mystery. And mystery is actually a very powerful tool in storytelling and world building because it can create a sense of puzzle solving and theory crafting and all these different elements that people love to do. And so I think the best way to do mystery is making you curious and not confused. And it feels like a lot of times in modern retail WoW, we're more confused than curious. And I realized that in modern WoW, it seems like there's always this type of thing where it's like the villain has this master plan that your small brain wouldn't be able to understand, or they're like, I've gone through things that you can't even comprehend. And it's like, I don't know, try me. Like, let's hear it. Maybe I can, maybe I can't, but let's hear what it is, right? And it feels like there's always just a bigger threat or a bigger force or this bigger plan that they were hiding all along that you couldn't possibly comprehend. And it's like, we need less of that mystery and confusion, and we just need more explanation. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you here? Like, when we look back at Warcraft 3, things feel very finite, right? Like, Arthas did what he did because of the Scourge invasion, and now everyone pays the price, because now Arthas is going around messing everything up along with the Burning Legion, right? We have Tyrande set Illidan free, and so now we have to pay the price. He's out there, he's drinking demon skulls or eating skull, whatever it was. And then you have the orcs, right? They drank the demon blood, and now everyone has to pay the price for that. They wanted to get that power from the demon blood, and then that's that. The world is now impacted by what they did, and it feels like those things were very finite in what happened, and now it feels like we don't really have that anymore. And that leads me to my next point, which is how you actually experience the story. And so Warcraft 3 is unique in that you can just say, hey, if you want to experience the entire story of Warcraft 3, go play the game, play through the campaign, and that's it. You'll know everything, right? Like, you'll know everything you need to know. You even get to play as the characters going through those stories, and you can relate to them and understand them a bit better. And so, right, it's like you just play the campaign and you know everything. While when you go to retail WoW, and you haven't played retail WoW in a while, I've seen this even with people that come back to the game, or they've never played retail WoW, or they've played Warcraft 3 and they want to play retail WoW, and they go, well, I'd like to learn about the lore. Like, how do I learn more about the lore? And it's like, everyone's like, well, there's like, you got campaign quests you could do, and there's like cinematics, and there's like some books you got to read, and like you could watch a YouTube lore video. It's like 4 hours long, and then there's like it's just like you have like an entire list of shit that people have to go through to like learn about the modern story or get caught up with it. And it's just, a lot of times that can be so daunting. Even for this very video, I was like, I'm gonna learn a lot about the modern WoW lore and get caught up on a lot of the stories and the backstories, and like even just learning about some of the modern characters, or like who they are, why they're here, it would take like hours, like days of research. It's like I'm going to school to learn about this, and I'm like, dude, this is just like so much to learn. In fact, I would say Xal'atath actually started out really strong in this aspect, because we had her as one of the artifact weapons as a shadow priest, right? And so I think a lot of people loved even theory crafting with that, where they're like, the blade is whispering stuff to the players, right? And it's like, people were like, who is she? Like, is she an old god? Why is she trapped in the blade? Like, what's going on, right? And that's the type of mystery I think people want. It's like, yo, this could be something really interesting and cool here. And instead, it feels like it turns into jailer tier, like I have a big plan that you can't know about for some reason. And I think when it hits that point, it starts just feeling kind of like a cartoony Sailor Moon type of villain, right? And some people are gonna like that, and it's not like bad. It's just I think a lot of people expect more, and then they don't get it. And I think that right there is where in lies a lot of problems we experience with the modern game, which is an MMORPG is much harder to tell a story in, at least a coherent story, compared to an RTS game or something like that, where everything's kind of condensed down into one format. It kind of goes back into, you know, what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, if I want to read a story or read a book, it's all right there, right? If I watch a TV show or a movie, it's all right there. But when you play a game like an MMORPG, it's like everything's just scattered about. And I'm like, well, why did this thing happen? Why is Xalatath afraid of like the scourge or death or whatever? And they're like, well, if you read the book about Sylvanas in the thing with the, and I'm just like, bro, what? Like, I don't know. It almost feels like I have to research like Warcraft instead of just experiencing Warcraft. You know what I mean? It's like, like I said, I have to go to school to learn about everything instead of just like, oh, I'll just play the game and learn everything, right? And kind of tying that back in here, it feels like a lot of times they drip feed the content. While, again, with Warcraft 3, you can just burn through it at your own pace, however fast you want to play. You can play it on baby mode and get through it in like a few hours, right? And so I think when you have something like the modern MMORPG where it's drip feeding these stories and it's trying to keep you actively engaged, which is one of the reasons that they do the things like drip feeding and like, hey, come back for the next patch if you want to learn more, right? And it can also drag out the experience and make you not care as much. I remember I watched a video from Platinum WoW, and he mentioned that Vol'jin dies and names Sylvanas as his war chief for some reason, and that happened in 2016. But we don't actually find out until 2020 that Mwezala, the Loa of Death, whispered in his ear and told him to make Sylvanas war chief in 2020. So it's like it took 4 years for us to learn that. And it's like that's the type of stuff where you would probably want to learn it right away and it wouldn't really change much. You'd go, oh, okay, I see where this happened now. And you carry on. Like, why is it dragged out? Why is it so mysterious, right? It just feels like it's mysterious just for the sake of being mysterious. My final point I want to bring up here is consequences. And to do that, I want to start by referencing some Game of Thrones stuff, because I feel like most people have seen Game of Thrones, or they know about Game of Thrones, and early on, they were based off the books. And so one of the reasons people love Game of Thrones was the characters felt very realistic. The world felt very realistic, and the characters had realistic consequences for their actions. And so it felt like nobody was really safe, right? Like no matter what anyone did, there was always a possibility that something could go wrong, and you never really knew what that was going to be. And there was no real evil characters or good characters. There's just a lot of morally gray characters, and some of them were definitely, you know, more evil than others, but nobody was like truly evil. Then fast forward to the future seasons where they didn't have the books to go off of, and it was very criticized for things like characters not acting like themselves, ignoring established lore, and giving key characters plot armor. And so that just kind of reminded me a little bit of like the modern WoW storytelling. Not completely, but like people remember things like Stratholme because it wasn't an easy choice, right? Like it was a difficult choice for Arthas to make, and it was one that started his journey or his descent towards being the Lich King, right? I mean, even some interesting choices are like Malfurion. I remember Malfurion is like, Illidan, I can't stand you. We're going to capture you. You're the worst. We're gonna, you know, kill him. Tyrande, I can't believe you let him free, right? But then, when Tyrande is in danger, Illidan is like, Malfurion, let me help you. And then Maev's just like, dude, Malfurion, what are you doing? Like, kill him or whatever. And then he's like, I need you to save Tyrande. And so in that moment, we learn that Malfurion probably puts Tyrande on a pedestal above everyone else, right? And so we actually get a little bit of his character development where he's like, you know what? I know we should probably take Illidan out here, and, you know, it's probably better for the world, but Tyrande needs our help, right? And so you get a little bit of his character there. Like, he loves Tyrande, and he cares so much that he's willing to put her above everything. And I think those are the types of things we see from realistic decisions. A lot of the time I see people in the community talking about, I wish we would just lose, right? And I think a lot of people thought that's what the second WoW Midnight or World Soul Saga was going to be, kind of like a Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers type of thing, right? Where, you know, there's the Battle of Helm's Deep and they're losing and it's like, oh my God, we can't keep this up. We're going to get defeated. And then at the end, they're like, hey, you know what? We fought it off and there's still a war, but you know, we've won the battle, but we still got the war out there. And I thought that's what it was going to be. I thought Xal'atath was going to come in here and she was going to be like, I'm destroying the Sunwell. I'm destroying everything. And it was like, she is just actually just destroying us. And it's like, dude, we can't keep this up. And the entire expansion was just us trying to fight her off and hold back and be like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then maybe at the end, you know, Gandalf shows up or just somebody shows up, the light, right? And they're like, dude, we did it. And you push Xal'atath back and then she's like, I'll be back, right? Like, I thought that's kind of what we were going to get. And instead, it was just kind of like, yeah, like, nah, we're good. Everything's fine. Like, rarely have I felt that the actual main characters are in danger. Right? Like, even when the stakes are supposed to be, like, world-ending, I'm always just kind of like, hey, you know what? They'll be fine. Like, it'll work out. Because there's no reason not to believe that. And so, like I've mentioned again and again, earlier Warcraft forced these characters into these difficult situations with difficult choices, and those choices impacted their lives forever. And it feels like a lot of modern WoW writing seems to just find solutions that avoid the worst possible outcomes. It almost feels like if Sylvanas was going to become a Banshee and it was like, actually, I have Banshee resistance and I'm good. Like, it feels like that at times. It's like, oh, okay, right? I guess Arthas just couldn't turn her into a Banshee and now she's fine. And I think one of the reasons people don't like Sylvanas currently is it almost feels like she has those superpower abilities to just keep coming back. So it's like, why wouldn't I think she's not going to come back? Why wouldn't I think she's going to save the day, right? It's like, if I had to bet, I'd probably just say Sylvanas is going to kill Xal'atath at some point. Because, like, why would I think otherwise? She's, like, been fine out of all the other situations. So it's like, oh, she's probably just going to do that, right? And so I think that takes you out of the realism. It takes you out of this grounded world that we had in Warcraft 3 where people were making these choices that impacted their lives forever. And now it's just kind of like, hey, you know, she's back again and she's saving the world. Like, it just feels wrong. And so just to really wrap things up, I mean, we have so many of these big cosmic forces, right? We have the Burning Legion and the Void and the Old Gods and the Titans and World Souls and all this stuff, but none of that really matters unless, like I said, we have these characters making meaningful, difficult choices that impact the world. And that's the whole point of these cosmic forces, is it's making these characters make these difficult choices. And that might impact their life in a bad way, but that's just the way it is, right? Like, that's just life. And so when they say things like, for Azeroth, am I right, fellas? I'm like, I don't know, I guess. Like, I don't really care that much. Like, it'll probably turn out fine. I'm like, why should I even worry? Like, and like, I hope I got my point across in a decent fashion without bashing the game too much or, you know, that type of thing. It's like, that wasn't truly my intent, because it's so easy for people nowadays to just say, it's Disney, it's Wowcraft, it's bad, it's whatever, right? And so I was like, what are the things that I actually don't enjoy that I can analyze and think about? Like, what are the actual flaws that I'm finding and observing in the game? And so people will say things like, put the war back in Warcraft, but like, that's not it. Like, we've had war plenty of times. We had a big war in BFA and nobody liked it. So like, I think what it comes down to is people want villains that feel realistic, that they can understand. I think people want stories with consequences. I think people want characters that feel realistic and characters that feel like they could be real people in a world that's shaped by their choices. And I think we as players also want stories that we can experience efficiently instead of needing 3 books, like 5 YouTube videos and 4 Chromie quests to get caught up on. And so, you know, the old lore wasn't even that, like, revolutionary or anything. Like, it wasn't that complex, but it felt like real people were making tough choices that could impact themselves and the world they were a part of, even if it was some goofy, cartoony fantasy world. And so you understood their ambitions, you understood their frustrations and their fears, and, you know, to an extent, like, why they made the choices that they made. And I think that's what made Warcraft 3 so memorable. But either way, thanks for watching me rant. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, I don't know, just move on. Subscribe if you want, or don't. I'm not your dad. Here's some more videos if you want to go watch those. I got pointless top 10s, I got dumb tier lists, and I got plenty of stuff to help you waste your time. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Okay? Okay. See ya.